Welcome to Talkin Business. I'm Joe Catrambone. With us today, Joel Dowley, two men in the truck of the Treasure Coast and West Palm Beach. And Joe, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a busy man, and I appreciate your taking the time first thing in the morning to drive up to Fort St. Lucie and
Thank
be
you,
with
Joe.
us. So I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So one of the things I like to do with my guests is to, because we're such a diversified community, and we're all transplanted from somewhere else. So one of the things I always like to start out with what brought you to Martin County and from where?
Well, our trip to Martin County is kind of extended, but we started out, my wife and I were both born in Michigan, central Michigan, and so we lived there for a great deal of our lives. And we came down to South Florida, actually to Palm Beach County, to start our business down here, two men in a truck, back in 2004, and ran that for a number of years. After in 2012, along with two of our key employees, Jim and Shauna Bledsoe, we acquired the franchise rights for Treasure Coast for two men in a truck. Opened that now a little over 10 years ago. And then, interestingly enough, personally, we just a little over a year ago moved to Palm City.
That's where I live. That's a great place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're enjoying
So
it.
you have really a diversified background. I mean, you went from one end of the spectrum to the other, and I don't mean that, but you're an attorney, and so you
We
went
all
from an
have great
attorney to a
lawyer
trucker.
jokes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
With-
so. How, I mean, what brought that about? I mean, you just don't come up one day and say, "I'm going to be a mover,"
No. Well, so
from an attorney to a house mover.
I grew up in a family business. My father, and actually his father before him, had a manufacturing business, and so I kind of grew up in that. But I wanted to be a lawyer, and so after law school, I practiced law. And at some point, my father came to me and said, what do you want to do? Continue practicing law or join the business? Take all the time you need. Let me know in a couple weeks. It took me 6 months, but I finally just said, okay, let's do this. So I left my law practice and joined the family manufacturing business, and we did that for a number of years, almost 20 years. And when we sold that business, I was looking around to see what I wanted to be when I grew up. And a number of circumstances, kind of, I knew some people from Two Men in a Truck, and we ended up there. Now, a little further expansion on that story. In 1986, turns out this little company, Two Men in a Truck, had just been started by its founder, Mary Ellen Sheets, and it was in our hometown. And so we had a house, and we were moving to a new house, and we hired two men in a truck. Little did we know that 2 decades later, we'd become part of the Two Men in a Truck family. But yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's that. So, a woman founded the company.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that come about?
Well,
backstory on that.
She had two sons. We talk about the original two men. That was really a stretch. They were boys. They were high school boys, Brig and John Sorber. And their mom was Mary Ellen Sheets, and she worked for the state of Michigan. And they had a pickup truck, and they hauled things, and sometimes trash, other things. They decided that moving was something they liked better, so they did that. She helped them. She said, put $2 from every move into your marketing fund, and she sketched out a little logo for them and helped them with the name. And then they went off to college, and she thought, well, that's it. But people kept calling, so she bought a truck, and Two Men in a Truck was born.
Wow, what a great story.
When we used them, I didn't know Mary Ellen personally then, but we've later discovered that she probably was onto her second truck when we hired her to move us back in the 80s.
So there's not a lot of moving companies around.
Oh, yeah, there are.
Are there really?
There's a
See,
lot
now
of
I'm not,
competition.
I'm not aware of them, obviously. But I
Yeah.
sort of have blinders. If you're not a chamber member, you don't exist. Unfortunately or fortunately,
Okay.
whatever it is. So, what what makes Two Men in a Truck different? What than ABC Moving Storage or whatever?
Well, the difference for us, I think, is our commitment to customer service. That's one of the key differences. And you know, anybody with a truck and a couple of people can become a mover. The licensing in Florida is fairly basic. In Palm Beach, in Miami-Dade, and Broward counties, there's special county licensure. It's still fairly basic. And so there are a lot of small 1 and 2 and 3 truck moving companies around. We have them here in Martin, as in St. Lucie and Indian River counties as well. But I think that commitment to customer service, you know, for us, our community involvement is really, really important. We, Two Men in a Truck, as an organization, is committed to those things, which is one thing that drew us to Two Men in a Truck when Janelle and I decided to do this. But it's really important for us in our individual franchises as well.
I think one of the things comes to mind right away, and especially a lot of people come into the chamber, they want to start a business, they want to go into business. Depending on what the business is, there's a liability involved always, and there must be high liability in your business. So I'm assuming a lot of these little small Two Men in a Truck guys with a hand truck aren't insured. Or is there a requirement?
There
to
is
be
an insurance
insured?
requirement. If they're
Okay.
licensed in Florida, they have insurance. They may or may not have workers' comp, but they have insurance. So most of them, if they're licensed, they probably do have basic insurance.
Yeah, because I'm not, obviously workman's comp is important from the employer's perspective and the employee, but I'm speaking about liability damage. You're moving a
Yeah.
piano when you drop it. So
Yeah, well, that's regulated by the state and potentially the county, and there are different levels. I sort of liken hiring a moving company to buying an airplane ticket. You can go all the way from Spirit, now JetBlue, whoever, that has a basic ticket, and if you want additional services, they cost extra. Or to another airline that may just say, buy your ticket and it includes all these things. And there isn't one right or wrong answer. So, but you need to know when you're hiring a moving company, what is included, what are the costs that might look like they're hidden. Some movers maybe try to hide them. Many don't, but still it's complicated and customers might misunderstand. So it's important to understand how the pricing is done.
So someone who needs the services of Two Men in a Truck or any moving company, what should they be aware of? What should they be sure is included? Are there little hidden things that you need to know about?
Well, you know, ask your potential mover what possible costs might there be. Okay, just, you know, that broad question. Make sure that anything that might get in there is included. It depends on, does the time start down here, largely for local moves and local even within the state of Florida. Most movers charge based upon time. There's some exceptions, but that's mostly. Long distance moves to other states are often done by weight or a flat rate, that kind of a thing. There are some flat, you know, this is my move is $2,000, and that's what it is, no matter how long it takes. But things like when does the time start exactly? Does it start when I leave my office or when I get to your first location, you know, home or business? When does it end? What other charges might there be? Is there a charge for some of the supplies or not? Is there a fuel charge? And how is that fuel charge calculated? So those are the kinds of questions. And then what level of liability protection do I have as a customer? In moving, it's a little different. We're insured, so are most, any licensed mover is insured, but that doesn't really control what happens if there's a damage. It's in moving industry. It's called valuation. That's the term, and it can be as low as basic, which is 60 cents a pound. You see how much something weighs, and it's 60 cents a pound. I like to use a dining room chair and say, well, if this is 10 pounds, it's worth about $6.
Oh, really? That's the value, huh?
That's the value under basic valuation. And we offer both full replacement cost valuation and then a middle level depreciated. Not every moving company offers all those. But it's important to know what level of valuation applies to your move. And at least with us, you have a choice. And we're happy to do it. And we'll do our best job no matter what you choose. Some people choose basic. It has a lower cost. Some want full replacement cost protection, and that costs a little more.
So I know this is probably a tough question, but as a consumer, or you speaking to a consumer, what would you recommend is the best package? Is it per mile? Is it per pound? Is it destination? What's the best bang for your bucks?
Well, when you go long distance, great long distance to other states, we do a flat rate because we think that's better because it's really impossible to expect whether or not we're going to run into a traffic jam in
snowstorm
or
yes,
something.
Yeah,
and so, you have a little more control, a little more confidence in what your price is. We also give that quote before we start, as long as the move doesn't change. There are other companies that will do a long distance move based upon the weight of the truck, which nobody really knows until after we're done loading it. And so you don't really know your price until after it's loaded. For local moves, pretty much the hourly works. And some people are concerned before they've used us, and they're concerned maybe about, are we going to try to run up the bill? They realize after they use this that they know we don't do that. But they may be concerned about how much time. Our estimates, we don't just say, you have 2 bedrooms, we think therefore it's going to take 4.5 hours. We give a very specific estimate. It's not always perfect, but it's really close. And so we can let customers know. It allows them the flexibility to say, you know what, I decided I was going to sell this entire bedroom, and now when you show up, I decided I need you to move it anyway. Well, okay, if it's a flat rate, that gets complicated because now it's a different move. We have to give a new quote. If it's an hourly rate, okay, it's going to take an extra hour, half hour, 45 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is.
Okay, so I'm gonna change gears here in a second, but is there anything you want to tell us about the industry and your business that we haven't talked about yet?
One big advice I would give people is hire a mover, not a broker. Hire a local mover. Hire somebody that you can go knock on their door and talk to them.
Yeah, you're not dialing an
If
800
there's a
number.
problem, I mean, they may have I guess we probably have an 800
Yeah,
number.
but you know what I'm referring to.
Make sure you're not hiring somebody who's going to hire somebody else, because what happens is even if there's no dishonesty involved, someone
It's just logistics.
tells you what I'm going to do, and I'm like, I never
yeah.
heard that.
Oh, okay.
So we don't use brokers, and I don't recommend it.
Okay, good. So now a little bit about 2 Men in the Truck. Do you own trucks and have employees, or you outsource?
Yes. Well, we own our own trucks. You could own them or lease them. At this
Well,
point,
the
we
same,
own them all.
yeah.
All our employees are our own employees. That's one thing that is a difference with us and other movers. We employ our people, and so we see them day in and day out. We have a little better ability to control. We can control the training. We don't just say, send me 3 people for Friday morning and we'll see who shows up.
Yeah.
So, that's the way we do that. It makes it a little tougher because we can't hire way more people, and controlling our ability to handle jobs. The end of the month is always busier. Sometimes weekends are more in demand. A little harder to control that, but we can control the quality of our product and our service.
How far out do you book? I mean, what's the longest? Someone's telling you they're
Oh.
moving next year, book me?
Nah, it's probably too far. But we have people that are booked into September now.
Okay.
Not very many. Yeah, even late September, but not very many. Usually they'll talk to us, which is really smart. Talk to us, you want to move in September. Give us, an idea of when. We can tell you when we're starting to get filled up. The end of the month we'll fill up sooner. So, you want to have a little more. But normally a couple of weeks is enough notice for us. If we have the space, we'll move you tomorrow. If you call today.
So since you've been in the business, have you seen any changes that kind of changed the industry since you've been in the business? And then to dovetail on that, what do you see? Do you see anything quirky, whether it be FAA regulations, anything that kind of can affect your operation?
The moving industry hasn't changed a lot in many
Yeah,
many
it's pretty
decades.
basic,
We're
yeah.
still moving things. It's still done physically. We've changed the technology and how we do the estimates. We now have virtual estimates available, actually using artificial intelligence, and the sales kinds of things obviously is all different. When I first started, you always wanted to be in the yellow pages.
Oh,
Well,
God, has that changed?
That has changed a lot.
Glad I'm not in that business.
But the actual moving is very, very similar. It still requires strong individuals who are committed, who are careful, and who are creative. I'd like to tell our new hires that you're not just a mover. You're a part-time counselor, maybe a grief counselor. Maybe you need to make sure you're encouraging the children that are concerned about the move. Watch out for the pets. You may be an interior designer. You kind of have all these different roles as well as being a mover.
This would never happen in my house. But do people ever entrust you to move their pets with their furniture?
We don't do that.
Oh, okay,
I
so you-
suppose some of them might, and we joke about it sometimes, but no, we
Yeah.
don't move live animals.
My wife would rather you transport me than the dog. Okay, so
Well, we've been offered to move, husbands and wives too. We don't do that either.
what else are you involved in the community? I know you're getting really involved in the chamber.
Sure. We joined the chamber
Yeah.
when we came up here in
Right.
Treasure Coast right after we moved here, or right after the company started here. So we try to be involved in a number of community activities. We offer discounts to any nonprofit and charity, and we do a lot of that. We do a lot of moves for organizations that are benefiting the community. We have our own kind of fun thing, given that Two Men in a Truck was started by a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
We have a program called Movers for Moms, and it runs in the spring and up until Mother's Day. And we gather items that are then donated through shelters in the community to be distributed to moms that otherwise wouldn't have much of a Mother's Day. And we get anything from useful practical items, like diapers,
Mm-hmm.
to we encourage cards, small gifts, perfume, things like that, to encourage the moms. And then we gather those. We partner with other individuals and businesses. We have one person who wishes to remain anonymous but puts together lovely baskets for the women that are
Nice.
going to be.
That's really nice.
And then others, from banks, insurance companies, real estate companies, will then offer to collect for us as well. And especially in our Treasure Coast location, we've had really big success, and we're one of the top. It's we've been doing it at Two Men in a Truck nationally for over a dozen years.
Our community, the Treasure Coast, but especially Martin County, is very giving.
Yeah.
And very forthcoming, and it's a great
Yeah.
place to be. So a friend of mine yesterday said to me, "Let me tell you a question I always ask people that really is an icebreaker, so to speak. So I'm
Okay.
going to ask you that
All right.
question. What do you do for fun?"
What do I do for fun? Read. Yeah, I mean, most of the time I work for fun.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, work
People
has
don't-
to be
People
fun.
don't get that.
Yeah,
A lot of people
work
don't
has
get
to
that.
be fun.
Yeah.
I like to read. Now, spend time with my grandchildren when I can. They're all out of the state, so that's a little harder. But maybe talk to them, go on FaceTime with them, spend time with my wife Janelle, and
Great.
you know we have the ability to do that, spend a lot of time, and so that's what I do for fun.
Well, good. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And as long as you're enjoying it, it's fun.
Hmm.
Anything else before we sign off that you'd like to talk about?
No, it's a pleasure to talk to you today, Joe. We've enjoyed our involvement in the chamber. Now that I live here, I'm personally a little more involved, but it's been a great organization. People are really not. I was having a conversation with somebody just yesterday, talking about one group, and it was a little hard to get to meet people, and not like the chamber where everybody's so friendly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Thank you
so-
for that. Thank you so much. You're obviously a great addition to our chamber, and you've been there as well as our community. So thank you for
Thanks.
that.
Thanks.
Okay. Have a good day. Thank you.